So we have drawn this in a previous video. This is a 2-point perspective city. And now I want to show you in this video how to correctly create shadows. Really the first thing that we need to do is identify like where our sun is coming from. So I'm going to just put a dot. Now I'm not going to put a cheesy sun, okay? I'm just going to put a dot, and then eventually that's going to be erased. All right, so that's going to be my sun. So that's really kind of where my light source is coming from. Now this isn't an exact thing. This is just one way of creating shadows. I feel like it's a little bit more technical as far as like it takes some of the guesswork out. It may not be perfect, but it's a way of doing shadows. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and align it to my sun, and then coming from my corners of my building, so like right here, I'm going to draw some lines. So that's going to help kind of identify where my shadow is going to be and the shape of my shadow. All right, so I have these lines like coming out from my buildings, right? So I also needed to kind of, like how close to the horizon is it? Because if it's really close to the horizon, then my shadows are going to be really elongated. Perhaps it's like further up, then they're not going to be as elongated. Now I'm going to take my ruler and align it to my opposite vanishing point, and that's going to help. I need to extend this one, sorry. That's going to help me cut off my shadows. So this one is actually further back than this one. So this one was probably cut off a little bit further, a little bit forward compared to this other one. So this one is actually like really close to being off the page. And then I'm going to also use this vanishing point to cut off this side shadows. There's going to be space. Now the one thing that I didn't do is kind of figure out where this side of the shadow is going to be. So if I have, I don't know, I'd have to think, okay, so probably around here. So my corner's over here, so it would come over this way. And then I can cut that off using the horizon, the vanishing point. All right, so now I kind of have a feeling of where my shadows are going to be. And so I can fill them in. So I'm going to actually get rid of this corner. Like any lines that are like within the shadow shape probably should be erased, which is kind of annoying because it's like getting in the way of my sidewalk, but that's okay. I can draw my sidewalk lines in a little bit better. So now I know where my cast shadow is, and I also can figure out what is going to be the darkest side. If my sun's over here, my darkest side is going to be the one that's furthest away. So this is going to be dark, this is going to be dark, this is going to be dark. My cast shadow is going to be probably darker than my building itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a cast shadow first. And it's just flat. It's just going to be a flat shadow. Like if you go outside on a sunny day, the shadows are just like flat. They don't fade really because you just have one light source. So that's going to continue on into this shadow of this building. Again, I'm just doing this really quick for demonstration purposes. If this was a drawing that I truly cared about, I would go slow. Alright, so there I have some cast shadows. Put another layer down here, try to get that a little bit more even. So after I get my cast shadows done, then I can go ahead and think about my building itself. Now, I don't want my shading on my building to be darker than my cast shadow. So I'm going to shade in this side, but I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter than my cast shadow. Now, I can always darken up my cast shadow too if I want. Now, this side isn't directly hitting the sun, so there's probably going to be some shading on this side too, but it's probably not going to be as dark as this side. So I'm going to lighten this side up a little bit. Again, you do that by just lessening your pressure that you're putting on your pencil. But again, there's no fading. It should be a flat shade. All right, now I'm going to keep the top of my building white, but it should be the lightest. It doesn't have to be white. I guess I could put a light gray. I'm just going to make sure that it is the lightest of all three sides. All right, so I can do the same thing for these other buildings. So this building, I'm not going to see the top, so I don't have to worry about what shade it is on the top. But I am shading in a flat way, trying to keep that an even tone. This one's going to be a little bit lighter. All right, now I'm going to move to this last building. Now, if you have any trees or shrubs or anything like that, they are also going to have cast shadows. So make sure you keep that in mind whenever you're adding things. All right, so that's how to add shading kind of in a realistic, more technical way to your buildings.